To Inside Indiana Overtime again. Alex McCarthy and Robby Howard here with you from the court from Branch McCracken Court at Assembly Hall. A little bit different from our usual spot back there in front of the bleachers, but we thought we'd change it up. Indiana changed it up tonight a little bit with getting a big win against Iowa here, 93-86, and it was certainly a big one for Indiana off a loss earlier in the week to Wisconsin in a game where they led by 10 at halftime. Indiana puts together a very, very different performance tonight, where Indiana was actually losing at halftime, came back, built a lead, and held on to it late, which is not something we're used to seeing this season from Indiana, quite frankly. And it's a huge, Evan Gordon said after the game, it's a huge morale boost, and it's just kind of a momentous step, perhaps. It's a big step for Indiana to be able to play a second half where it doesn't lose a lead, and it can hold on to a lead late in the game. With making free throws, with inbounding the ball, which has been a problem at times. But it was a big moment tonight, basically, for Indiana to be able to hold on to a lead here in the second half.
Yeah, they're able to come out, and Iowa punched them right in the mouth in the second half. They go up by 8, Iowa does, and there's that moment where everyone in Assembly Hall sort of looks at each other, and you could almost feel it, that everyone's like, oh no, here we go again. We've seen this happen too many times this season. But it didn't happen. IU comes back, IU punches Iowa right back in the mouth, and they go on their own run, and they take a lead with about 9:33 to go, and IU holds on to that lead for the rest of the game and finishes, does what they need to do down the stretch to get a really, really big win.
Yeah, and a big part of that was IU's defense in the second half. Iowa shot almost 60% from the floor in the first half, and after halftime, they didn't even break 40%. They were shooting the ball like crazy, both halves, but in the second half they just weren't falling. They were turning it over a little bit more. I think they had like 10 turnovers and 4 assists in the second half, something around there. But it just kind of everything changed basically for Iowa. In the middle of the second half, they went 8.5 minutes without a bucket, and Indiana was able to build that lead. And then, despite kind of this furious comeback in the last couple minutes from Iowa, and despite 4 missed free throws from Indiana, Indiana was still able to kind of cling on to that lead and win. But apart from those 4 misses, free throws were huge for Indiana tonight. After it was the polar opposite of what happened against Wisconsin, where Indiana only shot 3 free throws in that loss in Madison, and tonight they shot 38. They were 27 for 38 from the floor. Both Evan Gordon and Stan Robinson were huge from the line. They combined to shoot 14 for 18, and Evan Gordon made 5 free throws in the last 30 seconds. And those two were big, along with Jeremy Howell and a couple other guys off the bench for Indiana. IU outscored Iowa 27-4 off the bench in the second half, which was huge. And getting some contributions from those guys who maybe were a little bit hit and miss, with Gordon and Howell especially. Getting some contributions from them are also just a huge advantage for Indiana.
Oh yeah, there have been times this season where IU has really not gotten a lot out of its bench, and even against Wisconsin, you look at it, there were only 3 starters who scored against Wisconsin, and I think only like 5 or maybe 6 players who scored overall in that game. It was not a well-balanced game for IU, and there have been so many times this season where it's been Noah Vonleh and Yogi Ferrell, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all that IU gets offensively. And tonight it was, the complete opposite, like total 180 from that. And so to get big performances from Stanford Robinson, who has sort of been struggling as of late, he gets 17 and was really big in transition. And like you said, Alex, really, really good from the free throw line from a guy who thus far this season has not been a very good foul shooter. And you get a lot from Evan Gordon, who at times this season has been criticized for. A lot of people have asked, what does he really bring to the table? Well, tonight he brings some leadership down the stretch and hits those big free throws at a time where, if IU misses some more of those free throws down the stretch, who knows? This could have been Penn State all over again. You don't know. And, and then Jeremy Hollowell comes in and he hits a few critical jumpers, and that's something that the Indiana fan base really just has not seen from Jeremy Hollowell in the course of his career. He came in out of high school and he was supposed to be this prolific scorer, and Indiana really hadn't seen it tonight. He scores 7 points, not an amazing performance by any means, but definitely a a big contributor and really helped push the Indiana offense forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned a minute ago, it was kind of the total opposite from the Vonleh-Farrell attack that Indiana's kind of employed on offense all year, where they combined for just 12 points. Yogi Ferrell plays 38 minutes and only takes 6 shots. And you and I were talking a little bit about this before the video. That Indiana's almost better when Yogi Ferrell is more of a distributor than he is a scorer, and that's exactly kind of what happened tonight. Was that he was more of a distributor, and I can't believe it took us 5.5 minutes of video to get to this. But one of the guys he was distributing to the most was Will Sheehey, who destroyed his career high. He scored 30 points and almost got to his career high of 22 in the first half. He scored 19 and had a three-pointer late in that half that would have tied his career high. But just an enormous night from Will Sheehey, an aggressive night on offense, where I think that was kind of what Indiana fans were expecting a little bit more of. He came out shooting the ball. He took 7 of Indiana's first 15 shots. Like I said, scored 19 in the first half, and was just doing everything he could to score. He said he did a lot of his scoring without the ball, basically. Which, he means he was just cutting, he was just moving constantly, which he always does. But teammates, like Farrell, like Stan Robinson, like Gordon, were able to find him, and he was able to score at a prolific rate tonight. And Stan Robinson also set a career high, 17 points, including 10 in the first half. But they kind of combined to help Indiana get this big win. It's the first win, or it's the first game of a 3-game homestand, which is leading kind of to the end of Indiana's season almost. And it's a win Indiana badly needed to kind of stay in the picture for some postseason tournaments. The NCAA tournament is probably still out of reach, but the NIT is certainly one that Indiana is still competing for to get into, and we'll see if they can continue to kind of work their way to that. They come back right here, Sunday against Ohio State. I think that tip-off's at 4. We'll be here because it seems like we're always here. We've been here for hours tonight. It's 1:30. It's past 1:30 in the morning, so we're gonna get the heck out of here. But for Robby Howard, I'm Alex McCarthy, and you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend.